Hello everyone, today we are going to show you the assembling and lowering of IPI sensors. So before we start, we have IPI sensors here. We are just going to show you the sample of assembling of 3 IPI sensors, and before starting we have to give the numbers of each IPI sensors. Like in cardio-ride convention, we give the sensor number 1 to the bottommost sensor. So here we have given this particular sensor serial number, that is 181565. This we have given the sensor number 1. So this would be installed at the bottommost. Then comes a sensor above the number 1, that would be given as number 2. Then the sensor above 2 would be number 3. So on. So this is how we follow the numbering of IPI sensors. Then we have suspension kit. Then this is the bottom wheel assembly, always installed at the bottommost of the assembly, and this would be used as the reference point. Now before starting the lowering of IPIs, we need to decide on the A+ side. Wherever the excavation is going on, we would be installing the top wheel of the IPI in that direction. So this inclinometer casing has 4 grooves, and we suppose that this groove is A+, that is the excavation is going on this side. If we don't know where the movement is predicted, then we follow the convention of north and south. The A+ side of the IPI sensor would be at the A+ side. So let's get started. So this groove would be the A+. We'll take one spacer tubing or the connecting tube, whatever you call it, and we would be fixing the bottom wheel assembly with the connecting tube or the spacer tube, fixing this with the Allen bolts. This is the washer that is being used, and we would be tightening it with the Allens. We would then fix the safety wire rope. Now the safety wire rope is fixed, and we would be taking it along with the connecting tube. We would be using the cable tie. Now guide this bottom wheel assembly in the direction of A+, that is the fixed wheel or the top wheel, that would be in the direction of A+. Guide it in the A+ groove, and as you can see, there is a hole in between this connecting tube, and you would be using this retaining rod and inserting it inside the hole and resting it on top of the inclinometer casing. Now fix sensor number 1, that would be the bottommost sensor in the inclinometer casing. Just insert this in that connecting tube and use this Allen bolts and nuts to connect it. Use the washer. Now take care of the cables, the male and female Seacon connector cables of the IPI sensor. This is the bottommost sensor, so the female part of this IPI, the female connector of this IPI sensor would be would remain at the bottom. Now we would be fixing another connecting tube. This is a half meter connecting tube. We would be connecting it. We would lift the assembly up and take out the retaining rod and take the male end of the IPI sensor to the topmost part along with the safety wire rope. Slowly we would be lowering the first sensor. Make sure the top wheel or the fixed wheel would be in the A+ groove, and lower it carefully so that it doesn't come out from the groove. Now rest it again with the retaining rod in between the connecting tube. Now take another sensor, that is number 2, fix it with the same procedure as you have fixed the first one. Connect the male Seacon connector end of the first IPI sensor with the female of number 2 IPI sensor. And now you need to make a loop of the extra cable and tighten it with the cable tie. Make sure you don't forget the safety wire loop to route it along with the IPI assembly. Now take another connecting tube. Here we have 1/2 meter connecting tube. Put it on top of the second IPI sensor. Connect it with the Allen bolt. Make sure that you leave a slack of the topmost cable of the IPI sensor so that it doesn't get damaged or doesn't get stretched. Guide it carefully in the A+ groove. And rest it with the retaining rod. Now comes the topmost sensor, that is the number 3. This would be coming at the top of the borehole, and you would connect it in the same way as you have connected the other 2 sensors. And again connect the male Seacon connector of the second IPI sensor with the female Seacon connector of the third or the topmost sensor. Interconnecting would make a daisy chain of these IPI sensors, and only a single wire would be coming at the top of the borehole. Now we would be connecting the male Seacon connector of second sensor with the female Seacon connector of the topmost sensor or the number 3 sensor. This would make a daisy chain of the series of IPI sensors, and only a single cable would come out from the borehole for the whole assembly. Now we would making a loop again of these IPI sensors. Now lift the whole assembly and remove the retaining rod and lower it carefully. This is the suspension kit and this is the spacer tubing. We need to connect it together, and the whole assembly would be working as a suspension kit, and this would be used at the topmost part of the IPI assembly, and the whole chain of IPI sensors would be suspended on this suspension tube. Now this suspension tube would be fixed at the topmost part of the assembly. We would again lifting the whole assembly and remove the retaining rod and lowering it, holding all the cables and the safety wire ropes along the assembly. Make sure that the fixed wheel or the top wheel is guided in the A+ groove and it doesn't snap out from the groove. Use the cable tie to guide these cable and the safety wire rope, and there are 4 grooves in this suspension kit. You can route the cable in between these grooves. Now you can lower it. As you can see, only one cable has come out of the whole assembly. The male Seacon connector of the whole assembly would be connected to the top connecting cable. This is the top connecting cable. One end is the female Seacon connector and the other end it has 3 wire. As it is based on SDI 12 technology, so these 3 wires would be connected to the junction box. So we will be connecting the top connecting cable with the cable of the IPI, and you can route this extra cable accordingly as per the site conditions. Make sure that the safety wire rope which has come out from the bottom wheel assembly, this should be fixed at a safe location, so that you can safe location. This is the protection cap. You can place it on the top of inclinometer casing. After the completion of whole assembly, you can place it on top, and the wires and the safety wire rope would be routed through this protection cap. I'm just going to show you a sample how this would be routed. This would be routed along with the safety wire rope, and you could fix it on the top of inclinometer casing, and then the junction box would come, and you can connect this 3 wire of IPI's assembly in this junction box. So now I'll show you the connection of the junction box. This end of the junction box would be connected to the protection cap. It would be tightened from inside. This is the junction box for IPI sensor. One end of the IPI assembly, that is this 3 wire, would be routed inside this bigger hole. So I'm just going to show you the connection. From this end, the wire would be coming to the junction box, and there are 3 terminals at one end. At the other end also there are 3 terminals. So you can follow the convention of red, black and green. Red is 12 volt power, black is ground or common, and green is for signal. So you can connect this. Now this is the connection of IPI assembly at one end of the junction box. At the other end, you would be connecting a 3-core cable or a 6-core cable, and that would be connected to the our Encardiorite model ESDL30 data logger, and then the configuration of these IPI sensor will follow.